Welcome back, everyone, to another Captain Patriot video. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day today. I'm taking a look at Moon's new video, reviewing the Snow White trailer that just dropped. And so if you haven't seen the trailer, go watch it. Actually, don't watch it. You'll probably see bits. You'll see enough of it in this, but my initial thoughts when the original trailer came out before all the, I guess, rewrites and reshoots and everything, was that it was garbage then, and after seeing the new trailer, it's still garbage. So that's what I think. I think the fact that they decided to use CGI for all the dwarves rather than actually just hire people with dwarfism as actors strikes me as a little bit odd and a little bit of condescending and rude towards the community of people who, I guess, apparently have a hard time finding roles specifically suited for them. And so, you know, for a company that touts how inclusive and welcoming they are, they're not doing a very good job of it. So I saw this video pop up on my feed and I really wanted to watch it, but I wanted to watch it fresh. So I haven't seen this. And yeah, let's get right into it.
Last week, Disney dropped the latest Snow White teaser trailer, and unsurprisingly, everybody hates it. With over 850,000 dislikes and only 7.
I think I saw recently it's close to like 950,000 as of the 20th. So that's what I saw last. It was like, and I mean, like, obviously take that with a grain of salt, but yeah, it's getting close to 1 million.
50,000 likes. Along with a comment section filled with absolute scorn on Disney, the teaser trailer has become one of the most hated trailers of all time, and the film has become everything wrong with Disney in 2024. And while the movie has tragically been ruined by Disney, it's almost comical to watch them mess up the movie this badly. I mean, for starters, the original.
Also, isn't Snow White supposed to be the fairest of them all? Isn't Snow White supposed to be more attractive than the Queen? I'm just saying, man. I don't know. If you're going to do a bunch of reshoots, you might have just recast as well, right? Like, there's no point in, I don't know, that, whatever.
The original version of Snow White was to include Snow White and her 7 magical force diversity dwarfs.
Dude, okay, with one person who's an actual dwarf there, and then the rest are just like they, thems, and zems, and zers. That's just, what a shame, man. Disney, come on.
Who aren't even dwarfs themselves. And when actual dwarf actors started complaining that Disney was in fact not actually inclusive and dwarfs were excluded for the role as dwarfs, Disney changed their tactics. Now, in the new trailer, they have just replaced all of the actors entirely and made the dwarfs CGI, and the results look as you'd expect.
Yeah, you can't complain now, right? You can't complain about this because, well, this is what Disney did, okay? They basically took their ball and said, we're going home. That's what they said, right? Everyone was saying, hey, why are you not including, if you're so about diversity, equity, and inclusion, why are you not including people with dwarfism into your movies, right? This is a great opportunity to have 7 actors as part with dwarfism in your movie to show that you actually do care about diversity, equity, and inclusion. But instead of that, you decided to CGI them all. You decided that was the path you wanted to take, was just it's like you can't make this shit up, man.
Absolutely awful. Even though this movie is supposed to be a live action movie, it almost looks like it's completely CGI now. But the question is, how did Disney make the movie this bad? How did one of the most beloved movies of all time become so despised by everyone? Well, former fans of Disney have had everything thrown at them. All the worst political messaging, virtue signaling.
I watched She-Hulk, and that one scene just sums it up pretty much.
Hypocrisy and celebrity preachiness shoved down their throats 24/7. And while some could ignore it for projects like The Little Mermaid, Snow White was the breaking point for Disney fans. It all began originally with Zegler's casting. You see, what made the casting choice so bad was that Zegler seemed to actively hate the original film, and approved of everything the studio was doing to alter it beyond recognition.
You know, the original cartoon came out in 1997, and very evidently so.
As promotions for the
She's so fucking annoying, dude. She's so annoying.
When the film began, the young actress openly bad-mouthed the original movie, infamously calling it extremely dated in its ideas about women and referring to the love story as creepy and weird.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird.
Oh, God, kill me.
Everyone suddenly saw that she hated the film, which is a terrible basis to market the movie in and of itself, playing one of the most lucrative roles you could imagine, and then just hating on it. And so of course, the fans to this absolutely hated it. Still, I suppose...
Think about it too, like, right, from the perspective as like an actress or an actor, you should be grateful to be taking part in such a historic And I mean, this is such a huge opportunity, right? Like to be in a Disney film is a pretty big deal, but to be in the live remake of like the original animated Disney princess movie is huge. And to be someone who just shits all over the IP or the original work, I mean, it's just like it shows like a total disregard for true artistry or true, I don't know, like it just shows like a lack of care, right? And why would you ever want to cast someone who doesn't care and isn't appreciative of the art they're trying to make? Because if you're an actor, right, if you're working on screen, you are an artist. That is your job, is to act and to perform on screen for an audience, right? So this entire, the fact that she got this far blows me away. That they thought she would be a good pick and wouldn't piss people off shows that they weren't actually thinking. That they were just basically sitting on their thumbs and just like, who's the next brown lady we can hire? That's genuinely what it seems like Disney did. It's just, who's the next brown lady we can hire for this role? There's no care at all for the actual artwork that goes into creating. I don't know. It just pisses me off.
You can't expect any better from a company that has proved that it has zero respect for the history of the franchises it's purchased over the years, nor the fans that made the franchises so famous to begin with. Walt Disney attempted to do some damage control by making Zegler completely change her personality and sticking her in a room where she had to tone it down and appear all meek, honoring the work of their respective projects. The damage was already done, and everybody.
Yeah, it's done because you know her true belief on the IP, right? You know what she thinks already. So you going back and trying to retcon what she said initially doesn't matter because we already know how she is. We already know what she is. We know she has no respect for the IP. So it's like, or for the original work. So this entire idea that like somehow you're going to throw her in an interview that's, you know, pre-scripted and pre-planned, and you have all your lighting set up and it's manufactured just the way you want it to, comes off as so disingenuous, and you're treating your audience as if they're fucking morons. It's just like, come on.
You could see how fake this PR move was.
But it was, I mean, it's so much fun. Like, it goes back down to the root of why these movies were so successful when they came out, is because they captured the human emotion so well.
Why though? Like get into why they captured human emotion, right? Was it relatable? Was it real? Was it more authentic than the stuff that Disney is currently making? Because I would say yes. Yes, it is. Like, I don't like this idea that we're not allowed to talk about, like, you know, gender roles, and right, this idea that like, oh, the girl wants to be swept off her feet by a shining knight, right? Like, that trope is true for a reason. Right? There's a reason that trope exists. And so when she's sitting there and she's saying this to you, right? And she's saying, oh yeah, it connected with the hearts of audiences. She doesn't actually understand why that is. And she doesn't want to, right? She lives in this like delusional world with a lot of the other people on the left where they don't actually understand the reason for things, right? Like they think they do, but they really don't.
Well,
Zegler's words were already plastered across the internet for all to see, and nobody could unsee it. But the backlash to this film is way more than just this casting role. You see, people couldn't understand why the studio had taken arguably one of its greatest creations, the thing that made Walt Disney famous himself, and decided that even though it was highly successful, it wasn't suitable for modern audiences, and therefore needed to change. While Zegler's sentiment was jarring, at the end of the day, they had been enabled by Disney and were just a window into what the studio seemed to think of their original product. The reality is, if the executives truly valued the film, they would never have thought numerous changes were necessary.
If the executives valued the film, they would have gotten someone who actually cared about the original work to work on this one. Okay, they would have actually gotten someone who cared about the actual the quality and the artistry that goes behind the original work, and the storytelling and the characters and everything, right? This idea that the execs care about the works or the movies they're pushing out is totally incorrect. The execs care about one thing, and it's profits and the profit margin specifically. They don't care about the artwork. They don't. And they don't care about the artist. They don't care about the original work whatsoever. This is a cheap way to make some money, okay? That's all this is. And to push out this message that they're oh so diverse and oh so woke and oh so inclusive and oh, they care about equity. Meanwhile, they CGI dwarfs when you could just hire people to play those roles. That's it. If it's a live action movie, make it live action. Otherwise, just make the whole movie CGI, get rid of Rachel Zegler, and just put her as a CGI Snow White. There, problem solved. Now it's at least consistent.
One of the most controversial changes that I
Also, Disney, hire me. I'm way better than you.
mentioned earlier, and that fans completely bashed Disney for in the comments, was thanks to a comment made by Peter Dinklage, who chastised Disney for making a backwards story about 7 dwarfs living in a cave. Many found it weird that a man who had no issue playing fantastical characters in projects like Narnia, Elf, and even Marvel would suddenly have such a visceral reaction to something like Snow White, but Disney were more concerned about not offending anyone. So the studio decided that the best way to avoid any potential discourse was to change the 7 dwarfs to 7 magical creatures, effectively erasing the iconic characters and the rare opportunities they once afforded. People were upset about the compromise and the fact that the words of one highly successful man had now
Yeah, this is what happens when you give too much credence or too much power to one individual, right? They say stupid things that are wrong, and then everyone just goes with it, right? And like, why is he the voice of everyone who's got dwarfism? I don't know.
one highly successful man had now cost 7 others a chance at success, completely ruining the whole live-action remake thing that Disney was going for. But then when the set photos leaked and everyone got to see the actual magical creatures, people couldn't believe 1, how bad the cheap costume design looked, and 2, that these people weren't dwarfs and were all completely forced in for a diversity quota.
Bro, these are all people you would find outside of like a San Francisco coffee shop, okay? That's what I'm saying right here. Or like Seattle, right? These are all people who either work or live in or outside of a coffee shop in Seattle or Portland. That's what I'm saying.
Disney. While Disney initially tried to deny that the shots were from their sets, they soon backtracked and claimed they weren't the official photos. Now, the studio did inform people that the magical creatures would be improved with CGI, but I don't think anybody was expecting the final product, the product that we just got to witness last week. Because as it turns out, the studio's solution to avoiding reinforcing stereotypes was to recreate the original characters with CGI in a hyper-realistic yet cartoony style, reminiscent of what they did in Pinocchio. This comes with Disney completely overusing CGI in their movies, often being used to just replace the work that goes into set design and costuming, thus just making their movies look more cheap and increasingly hollow and soulless, something Disney has received a lot of backlash on already, and fans are getting sick of it. Not because it's there, but
Yeah, it looks cheap, it feels cheap, it's cheap writing, it's cheap acting, it's cheap everything, okay? And like we can tell. Okay. And yeah, I mean, it's par for the course now with Disney at this point, right? It's how do we maximize profit margins rather than focusing on the quality of the artwork that they're creating, which in turn would have actually brought in more profit had they actually just focused on the artwork. But instead, they want to see if they can make a cheap buck off of a name, which is Snow White, right? And so the snow, that's the same thing. It's like, I don't know, what's another one where it had the name, but it was something totally, I can't remember. Disney does this all the time. It's like hard to keep track at this point, but it's just another one of those cash grabs, right? That seems to be ever present in our modern society.
but because it's done so poorly that they've made their films just look so clean and soulless. Unsurprisingly, the film looks entirely CG, and it's really no shock that everybody hates this trailer. The dislikes are truly insane for a trailer. And when you watch the trailer, everything from the sets to the dwarves to the animals has been made to look so cartoonish and oversaturated, making the style just seem incredibly fake and weightless. An issue that Disney has yet to solve despite all the resources it has at its disposal. While the CGI sucks, people can still recognize the dwarves. Snow White, on the other hand, doesn't even feel like the same person. Sure, she's got the dress, plus Disney's terrible wardrobe malfunction, and she's got the songs, but that's where all the similarities end. Now, there isn't much to go off on in the trailer, but if you combine what you see there with the leak that shows Zelda's iteration of Snow White's most iconic songs, the sweet Disney princess is nowhere to be found. There's a very specific moment in the trailer where the evil queen is asking her magic mirror who is the fairest one of all, and the camera pops to Snow White, who wiggles her eyebrow with a knowing, arrogant smile.
Oh yeah, the arrogance, man. Right? It's the ego, right? It sucks because she thinks she's so hot. But she's not. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. I'm not trying to degrade anyone's looks, but I'm sure she's someone's cup of tea. Unfortunately, I just think the queen is the fairest of them all.
It's small, but there is just no trace of the timid, sweet, kind princess people fell in love with. Instead, she's been replaced by someone who seems more brash and challenging. It's a lot more prominent in the leaked footage. In the original film, when Snow White arrives at the dwarf's cottage, she initially thinks it's the home of orphan children and cleans the cottage, not just in hopes that they'll allow her to stay, but because she wants them to experience what it might be like to have a mother that would care for them. But that's not so much the case in the reimagining. When the dwarfs arrive home after spending all day in the mines, they're not surprised by a clean cottage and food awaiting on the table, because that would conform to gender stereotypes. But instead, they find a woman waiting to instruct them on how to clean their own home. Snow White almost seems villainous in the clip as she hands the dwarfs their cleaning materials, particularly as she hands over the broom. Orange Light hits.
It's because men don't know how to clean. In case you didn't know, that's the Disney message that's going out, is that men are helpless without women and they can't do anything on their own. So that's the message.
Her face, and her voice comes off in a condescending manner. She seems more like a wicked stepmother using false sweetness to get her stepchildren to do her chores. Snow White then spends the rest of the clip dancing around while the dwarfs do all the work for her. This leaked footage perfectly demonstrates the message Disney has been preaching in basically all of its recent projects. The film isn't going to be a battle between kindness and vanity or love and hate, but a depiction of women's superiority over men. It further proved that Disney only seems to know how to write one type of woman these days, the strong female character, and in doing so they ignore.
Yeah, but okay, so that's so funny that he brings this up, this point about the strong female character, because the truth is this is in no way a strong female character. And if anything, I would say that if you're a woman and you act like any of these strong female characters, I'd say you're the weakest person out there. And the reason is because strength requires you to be humble and to humble yourself. And I feel like all this strong female empowerment women characters that are in movies are always written in a way that they're unrelatable and unrealistic. And, they put on this facade of strength when in reality, I think the truth is someone in that situation would be really struggling, but they always seem to not struggle at all, right? And that's like the Mary Sue, right? Whenever you hear Mary Sue in a movie, it's like Rey, right? Rey, quote unquote, Skywalker, Palpatine's daughter. She's a Mary Sue because she immediately knows how to fly, immediately knows how to use the Force, can do pretty much anything and everything when she needs to. And that destroys any need for character development. And so what story do you have if there's no character development at all? Right. And so I think this is a great point that he brought up.
Shame an entire group of girls who may not want to be leaders, instead dream of love, value kindness, and enjoy more simple pleasures in life, erasing a character girls looked up to for decades. While the studio has attempted to fix some of the film's issues, it's almost too late to be fixed now, and Disney will have to write this off as a complete disaster.
You know what they need to do? They need to not release it, okay? They need to take their lump and learn their lesson and not release this movie. If they release it, it's only going to get ripped apart. It's only going to get shredded by people. People are going to crap all over it. And it's going to be the same loop where all of the media sites, all the journalists, all the movie journalists are going to be like, oh, it's just a bunch of hateful white men who just wanted to review bomb the movie. No, it's just going to be a bad movie regardless. It's going to be bad. At this point, I don't think you could save this movie. You're going to have to do a whole entire rewrite. Why even rewrite it? It's like the movie already exists. All you have to do is just turn it into a live action, right? Like, I'm confused. There should be no need to change any of the story whatsoever.
And
you're making a live remake.
Gal Gadot and Rachel Zegler were very professional during their first few interviews together. They appeared to enjoy each other's company, with the two often complimenting each other. But it seems something might have changed between 2023 and 2024 as the film progresses, as people have been comparing Zegler and Gadot since their roles were announced, often calling.
If the evil queen is more beautiful than Snow White herself, what is the point of the movie then? Yeah, that's like pretty much what I'm saying, right? Like if you're going to cast, I don't know. I mean, like Rachel Zegler is not like unattractive, but by no means is she attractive, if that makes sense. I just think this is kind of like, it feels like an unfair advantage the queen has already, right off the bat. The whole premise of Snow White is that she's the only one more beautiful than the Wicked Queen. Who in their right mind declared or decided Rachel Zegler was better looking than Gal Gadot? If I was the prince, I would save Gal Gadot from Snow White. Yeah,
the evil queen, because
I saw a lot of comments like that on the trailer.
Haters are commenting on how there is no reason for Gadot's evil queen to be jealous of Zegler's Snow White, because they claim the older actress is actually the prettier woman. Now, we're not saying this is actually true, but her response to these comparisons just made things worse with the fans. While promoting the film, Zegler often came off as incredibly narcissistic, as any photos she posted were usually just of her. This was in stark contrast to Gal Gadot, who posted a short video of shots with herself, her co-star, co-star and the rest of the crew who had worked on the film. As was been seen as a final shot, Zegler then posted a tweet where she thanked the fans for their support before declaring Free Palestine. And whilst this might seem like a good thing, with the actress trying to help out the people of Palestine, others saw it as a jab at the former Wonder Woman actress, who's an Israeli actress, and very vocal about her support of Israel. Because of this political rivalry, it seems Disney backtracked on a promised D23 presentation and removed Gal Gadot from singing scenes from both the films and the teaser trailer at the last minute because of her support for Israel, and so she started backing out of interviews and diminishing her press tour appearances. But maybe because she also secretly hates Zegler. It's almost impossible to know, but it seems like the key actors are also falling out, and if the actors start hating each
Well, imagine you're like an experienced actress with a lot of knowledge of the industry, and you know how to compose yourself because you've been working in that field long enough to understand what's required of you as an actress, especially when you're always in front of a camera, and some young jumped up 20-something comes up and starts talking like she knows everything and acting like she's the queen, right? And yeah, just starts crapping all over a really great movie, all right? I don't know, man. I mean, I couldn't imagine ever working with someone like that on set. That would be agonizing to have to listen to this person who doesn't know anything act like they do. I'm sure people deal with this in like every other, industry or field, but man, especially when there's like, when you're doing artwork and some uneducated person on an IP or on an original piece of work is having all these really strong negative opinions. I mean, it just kind of goes to show that like, this is where we're at now with art in general in society, and movies is just obviously one small piece of that. But I think this bleeds out into other areas like music or actual physical art forms like painting or drawing or whatever it might be. So yeah.
each other. The fans hate the movie. The entire thing's constantly changed with just CGI, and nobody has any passion for the film left. This will make Snow White one of the worst films ever made, as it just seems like this entire project has been one massive failure. There's clearly a massive lack of love and passion for the project. They should have been doing all it could to honor the original, not just for the sake of the story, but because of how foundational it was to Disney's success. It's almost poetic that the film that changed the landscape of Disney is now the one destroying it.
Yeah, I think, and had Disney actually put a little bit more effort into this movie and not just made it like a woke message bus, I think they could have potentially rebranded themselves under this movie. And to me, that would have been far more poetic. It's sad seeing Disney go this direction of wanting to just make things that appease the woke minority. Because most people don't agree with, the woke left. And unfortunately, this is where we're at now, where the woke left is making so many decisions that the rest of us have to follow. And it's just a shame. It's a shame that we're at this point where you can't really have a conversation about it without being labeled some sort of evil, misogynistic bigot or something like that. Which just goes to show that they don't want to have an actual genuine conversation about why people are upset about these types of movies. And there's a fundamental lack of desire to understand why people are upset. And I think this is a huge issue on the left, is that it feels like the left has no empathy whatsoever anymore. They've completely gone opposite of empathy towards just hatred and vitriol towards people they disagree with. And that's a shame. That's honestly a shame, because how are we supposed to get anywhere as a society if we're just constantly at each other's throats, unable to understand or comprehend what someone's saying? So yeah, I don't know what Disney was thinking with this. I don't know why they thought it would be a good idea to replace the 7 magical creatures with the 7 magical CGI creatures. It just feels like a cheap shoehorned in sort of thing, and they should scrap the movie altogether and start fresh. They should start over. I don't know. I don't see many people wanting to go see this in theaters. Maybe we'll watch it. Maybe we won't. As of right now, I'm not going to. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.